Vermont.com.
The energy.
So this guy in the fantasy baseball chat is just ripping me. He's calling me names for how I handled my team. Buddy, you had 20 weeks for your own team to play better. Don't be mad at me.
The passion.
Mac Jones is fighting not just for his Patriots job, but he very well may be fighting for his NFL future.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
For the Red Sox, it can't always be about next year. It can't always be about down the road. Where's the team that battles for now?
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? A very happy Thursday here in the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Full show tonight, all 90 minutes. We're up until 7 o'clock. We got ALCS baseball tonight between the Astros and Rangers, and it's a series again after the Astros won last night. Our coverage 7:30, first pitch just after 8. Buster Olney is in Arlington at that series. He's going to be with us a little later than usual today, probably from outside the dugout or something. About 6:10, Buster will be with us there, talking all things playoffs, but also getting a look at the Red Sox and kind of their general manager search. We'll talk more about that as well. You can get it on the text line 802-585-3026. That's 802-585-3026. Again, all 90 minutes until 7 o'clock. Danny and I attended the virtual media day today for UVM women's basketball. We got some thoughts on that. We got some stuff out of the UVM men's basketball media day yesterday and some comments made by a bunch of different members of the program. So we'll get into everything again for the next 90 minutes. Danny, let go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. I'm going to start with a question, right? And I have an opinion on this, but I want to ask Danny first, and I want to give you the texters a chance to get in this as well. I was watching NBC Sports Boston last night, and they were talking about Mac Jones. They were talking about Mac Jones' future. And we can probably all agree that right now things don't look great for Mac. I ask you, Danny, I'll give you a question here to start. In your estimation, what is the percentage chance that Mac Jones is the Patriots quarterback next year?
I would say 30%.
So you think they're going to move on from him no matter what, pretty much?
I feel like they'll draft a replacement.
Okay. I think the Patriots will draft a quarterback as well next year. I believe there is a 60% chance that Mac is the starter at the beginning of the year. And I think there is about a 10% chance that Mac makes it through the whole season next year. Now, I didn't ask you the back part of that question, so I wanted just your first answer to that. But I think there's about a 60% chance that Mac is the starter at the beginning of the season. But I think there's very little chance that he makes it through next season. Right, that he makes it through next season as the starter, because I would say that this is what is likely. I think the Patriots are going to finish poorly this year, somewhere between 3 and 6 wins. I think they will draft a quarterback. I don't know if they'll get the top quarterback in the draft. I don't know if they'll get quarterback number 7 or 8 in the draft by virtue of picking 13th overall. I have no idea. I think that there's a good chance that Max starts next year as the veteran incumbent in the same way that Baker Mayfield got the job this year with Tampa Bay, right? I think a lot of people expected Baker to be replaced. Now, because the team is 3-2, Baker's going to hold on to that job a little bit more. But I think that Mac is going to be the veteran incumbent next year. If Bill Belichick is still the head coach, Mac is the guy that he knows. If Bill O'Brien is still the offensive coordinator, Mac is the guy that he knows. He's the guy in the system. He's the guy who's been there. He's the guy who knows the terminology and the verbiage. And if Bill Belichick is still the head coach, I don't know that he is prepared to start a quarterback, a rookie cold from week 1 again. So if Bill is the head coach, I think 60%, I think there's a good chance that Mac starts as the job. If Bill is the head coach at the end of the year, I think Bill's going to be fighting to keep his job. And I don't think Mac is particularly great. So I think that Bill is going to be forced to make a change out of desperation next year. if somebody else is the head coach of the Patriots next season, they won't have any loyalty to Mac. So I think they'll be thinking about the best development path for the next quarterback. So I think Mac will start. And then the minute Mac struggles, or the minute the team is 1-2 or 2-4 or whatever, then you'll go to the next quarterback. In the same way I think the original plan was in Tampa for Baker Mayfield. That's where I'm at. I think Mac Jones has a good chance at starting next year, but I also think he has a very high probability of being replaced. Right?
What percentage did your guy Phil Perry give?
Phil Perry did not take the answer on this, but there were a bunch of guys at NBC Sports Boston who did have opinions on this. Tom Giles of NBC Sports Boston thinks it's low.
I'd say 35%. And part of that also is because Mac Jones probably wants a fresh start somewhere else.
Yeah.
And he probably could use one, because I don't know that he'll never be an NFL quarterback. I just think that the position he's in now is tough to come back from.
What do you think?
See, it's interesting, though, because Tom Giles is taking it under the assumption that Mac's not going to be the starter because Mac's not going to be here, right? When he talks about Mac needing a fresh start, he's talking about Mac being sent somewhere else. I haven't really entertained that situation for a couple of different reasons. One, right now, if you traded Mac Jones at the trade deadline in a couple of weeks, you'd be selling incredibly low, right? Like what would I be getting for Mac Jones at this point? 6th round pick? 7th round pick? And I'm sorry, for as bad as Mac has looked, I am not trading former first round quarterbacks who have been Heisman Trophy finalists, who have played in national championship games, I believe, as Mac did at Alabama. I am not trading those guys. Well, they still have years of team control left on their rookie contract. I am not selling them for pennies on the dollar. So Mac is an incredibly low value right now. I don't think he gets traded at the deadline. And assuming the situation gets as bad as it looks like it's going to get this year, Mac would have extremely low value in the offseason for the same reason. And I would rather keep him and let him go in a situation next year where he's in a quarterback controversy with a rookie, where he could start the beginning of the year and maybe get replaced. I think Mac has more value to me at this point than he does on the trade market. Right? If you told me that, hey, like the Vikings with Kirk Cousins, if you told me, hey, you guys are 1-4 and you can get a 2nd round pick for Kirk, I'd probably do it if I were them. Now, Kirk Cousins has a no trade clause, so that's why they can't. But if the Patriots were in a situation where they're like, hey, we think Mac's really good, you guys might stink, but we think Mac's really good, we'll give you a 2nd round pick for him, I'd probably do it in a heartbeat and start over. That's not the case. You'd be looking at a 6th or a 7th round pick, and Mac has more value to me at that point. So I think Tom Giles is operating on the assumption Mac won't be the starter next year because Mac won't be here. I don't think that's the case. We have seen how badly the Patriots have bungled the backup quarterback position, how badly they have bungled the quarterback room. You need a capable backup. So I got to keep Mac at least for a little while longer, because either he's going to be my starter and the kid I drafted him and am developing and grooming is going to be my capable backup, or that kid is going to win the job at some point. And then I've got Mac, who I at least trust can play reputable level football out of the backup position, right? Mac could be Andy Dalton. Mac could be better than Blaine Gabbert. Mac could be better than Chad Henne, these guys who have stuck around in backup jobs forever. So I am operating under the assumption that Mac will be here next year. I believe he will have a good chance to start the season as the Patriots quarterback next year. I do not believe he has a great chance to finish it. If Belichick is the head coach, he's going to be desperate to keep his job. I think he'll be have an itchy trigger finger when it's talking about, making quarterback moves. If he's fighting for his job, he will gladly get rid of Mac if he has to. And then if it's a new coach who has no loyalty to Mac, then I think that guy will be thinking about the development of the next young player in there, right? We don't see it as much as we used to, where quarterbacks come in and sit for 4 games, 6 games, 8 games, whatever. We don't see it every time. But think about what happened with Justin Fields and Mitch Trubisky, right? Mitch Trubisky started the year for Chicago, and Justin Fields, I think, came in week 10. There are C.J. Strouds who start week 1, Anthony Richardsons who start week 1, and there's a lot of value in that. But there are still situations where a rookie quarterback comes in and sits, and I could see the Patriots being one of them, no matter who the head coach is next year, right? No matter who the head coach is. So, Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston thinks that Mac is going to get the starting job back next year and thinks that he's really been dealt the raw hand.
87% likelihood.
7.
Did we watch the rookie year for the kid? He went 10-7. He was the offensive rookie of the year until the very end when Jamar Chase passed him. What has happened since? They gave away his best wideout. They extended a wideout who can't help him in Devontae Parker. They brought in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. They have an offensive line that can't block. He's on a rookie contract. There's a good player in there somewhere. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and start over with some second-round pick from Slippery Rock that you think might be a dual-threat quarterback just for the hell of it.
On that note, Danny, I had to ask today what that expression means. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Do you understand that expression?
In context, yes, but I don't. Where'd that start? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I certainly don't know where it started. I didn't even get it at first. I thought it was like a very derogatory is the wrong word. It's not derogatory, but I was like, why are we talking about babies and bathwater? I just was like, I didn't quite get it. It sounded, inappropriate also is the not right word, but like it just sounded vulgar in a way. And it only took until today when I asked that I finally learned what it all meant. But that's aside the point. Mac has been dealt the raw hand, right? He has been. But still, what you've put on tape is what you've put on tape. And your reputation is your reputation. And Mac's off-the-field stuff is going to follow him as well. I do think he starts next year, but I don't think he finishes it. Now, Peter brings up a good point. If I'm Mac and Belichick's back, I'm trying to force a trade and get a fresh start in 2024. You can try. And I think there would be some interest in Mac Jones. But again, the Patriots do not have to trade you. Mac Jones is under contract for next year. They don't have to trade him. He has a fifth-year option at $25 million or whatever. Now, that at this point seems likely to get declined. But the Patriots need to rework their roster next year. And however they do it, I think Mac Jones being on it is better than not being on it, right? He's either the starter and you think he's good, or he's your great backup, or he's your experienced backup, whatever, right? He's your Gardner Minshew. He's your Chad Henne, whatever it is. They don't have to trade you. Now, if Belichick is back or Mac is demoted or whatever, I totally get him being frustrated. But I'd be waiting at that point until I'm a free agent, and then I would just say, screw you, and head on my way out, right? I don't know that I'd be worth – Mac already has a reputation as kind of a whiny guy, right? As kind of a guy who doesn't control his emotions well. I don't know that it would go over for him well if he was out here trying to force trades. I think it would only perpetuate what people already think about him, that he can't handle adversity, that he's not able to tough things out, that he's not able to get through things. He doesn't handle things in the right way, right? We saw N'Keal Harry demand a trade and then end up with the Patriots the entire year. I don't think it would be real good for Mac to go and do that. I think he's better off being with the Patriots next year in whatever role it is, and then getting to be a free agent and then going wherever. The question I heard being asked about today too, Danny, is if Mac was available via trade, whether it's at the trade deadline this year or whether it's in the offseason, how many suitors would he actually have? I think there would be a couple, given the nature of his contract, right? He'd have 1 year left at really cheap quarterback wages. I think there would be a couple. The only one that makes real sense is the Raiders. And the only reason why is because of Josh McDaniels. First off, Jimmy Garoppolo is basically Mac Jones, but a little bit better and a little bit older. But Mac Jones is basically Jimmy Garoppolo, right? And Mac Jones is basically Brian Hoyer at this point, but a little bit better. So the quarterbacks the Raiders have, the offense that McDaniels runs, there's really no change depending on who it is. So if you're a guy like McDaniels who wants continuity in your offense, Mac Jones would certainly have that. He would certainly bring that. He also has seen Mac at his best. He's worked with Mac at his best. There's a relationship there. He likes Mac. And frankly, even if Mac was the backup, like if backup was what Mac Jones could get or be, I think he'd probably be perfectly fine going to Vegas and being with McDaniels, given that he's had success under him before. Obviously, Mac wants to be a starter. I don't think, again, though, Mac is going to be traded in this offseason or at the deadline, because there's no real value there for the Patriots, right? You're getting rid of your starting quarterback for a 6th or 7th round pick. That I'd rather have the player at that rate. As for the offseason, you need a good backup. We've seen the Patriots are not equipped at that. So whether Mac's the starter and the new guy on the block is the backup, or the new guy on the block wins the job like Mac did back in the day, and you've got Mac as the backup, I think that's better for the franchise. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Texter says, what if the Vikings trade for Mac? Well, now Kirk Cousins is a free agent. He obviously could be back next year. He also obviously could leave in free agency, in which case the Vikings would need a quarterback. Now, Mac Jones is basically Kirk Cousins, but worse. Do the Vikings want to go for that? If they want to play with, that's an interesting point. If the Vikings can't get a franchise quarterback in the draft, do they want the 1-year bridge guy and, hey, we'll take Mac on the rookie year of his contract, see what's up with him, and then we will address what happens in the future? I don't know. That's an interesting point, though, given that Mac would be on the last year of his contract and you could just let him go if he's not good the year after that. I don't know. Vikings obviously might be bad enough to go get a top quarterback, just like the Patriots, and might rather go that way. Not sure. Joe in Richmond says, get rid of Mac at all costs, basically. Okay, it's very possible. I still think, though, I'm going to say 60% chance he starts the year as the quarterback, but a 10% chance that he finishes it. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Yesterday was the UVM Men's Basketball Media Day. Danny and I have heard the audio from John Becker and Aaron Deloney. We'll tell you the things that stood out to us most in the media session. We'll talk about Catamount Hoops. We'll do it next on DEV.
I thought I was going to have to go through a hip replacement or some painful, unsuccessful surgery or be crippled the rest of my life.
Electrical engineer Dan Vogler had awful arthritic pain in his hips. Pain that not only affected him physically, but also emotionally. And it spilled over even to his relationships.
I was almost mean. If you're in pain and other people don't sympathize with it, you're lashing out at the wrong people.
But then Dan found QC Kinetics. With the latest advances in regenerative medicine, non-surgical treatments with lasting relief.
I felt immediate relief. I mean, within half a day, much of the inflammation and pain was down.
And today, Dan says he's totally pain-free, living the life he wants.
At the end of the 4th treatment, I felt pretty much healed and enthused and was raving about QC Kinetics. I can recommend them highly to anyone.
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS. QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS. Treatments are not yet FDA approved.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Waterbury invites you to think local, buy local, and be local by experiencing our many recreational opportunities with something for everyone in your group. You can hike, bike, walk, run, paddle, skate, and stroll, and even swim in Waterbury. Between the Perry Hill Bike Trails, Little River State Park, and Waterbury Reservoir, there's year-round fun for all levels. Get outside and start your next active adventure. Our small businesses and colorful mix of restaurants have everything you need to create an unforgettable experience. Even your dog will have a great time. Black Cap Coffee and Bakery of Vermont is now open in the historic Waterbury train station. Black Cap is the new place for lunch and for gatherings in Waterbury. Open daily with made in-house pastries and sandwiches for breakfast and lunch. Stop by on your way to or from any hike or bike ride or for a central meeting location. Black Cap Coffee and Bakery is a great place to eat, meet, and work now in the Waterbury train station and in Burlington, Stowe, and Morrisville. Visit blackcapvermont.com for more information.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond. Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results.
We've done a broad selection of other stations, and DEV kind of represents an interesting niche. It's been one of our better producing stations. DEV has a dedicated and responsive audience, so as an advertiser, there's not much more you can ask for. Paul LaShore from Green Mountain Solar.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas show right here on WDEB AM and FM and WDEBradio.com. Buster Olney usually with us at this time. He's going to be with us about 6:10 today. Buster is hanging out at Arlington watching the ALCS between the Astros and the Rangers. I liked Peter and Willison's suggestion, or his question, could the Vikings trade for Mac? And as I said, right, Mac's going into the final year of his rookie deal next year. If they're going to lose Cousins in free agency, do they want to draft a quarterback themselves, but maybe also have Mac be their veteran bridge guy? Could they give up something for him? I've texted my contacts in Minneapolis. I got a couple of contacts in Minneapolis. I have asked them a question like this. I will report back with what they think of this idea here, assuming I hear back before the show ends. I think I will. Danny, did I ever tell you my story about how I almost moved to Minneapolis?
No.
Have I never told you that story?
You told me you covered the Super Bowl in Minneapolis.
Yes, I did cover the Super Bowl in Minneapolis. But so interestingly enough, we're enough years removed and a station removed that I can tell this story. So in 2019, in about November, I got approached by a radio station in Minneapolis, right? I was working at a different radio station in Vermont, right? Some of you know what it was. So I was working at a different radio station in Vermont. I got approached in November of 2019 by a station in Minneapolis. And they were like, hey, we're thinking about adding a new show and we need some new people in here. We've got your name from somebody who recommended you. Would you have any interest? I'm like, I had been approached before by people. So, I kind of knew how to play the game. Yeah, I'd be interested and, whatever. And then they were kind of slow to respond. It wasn't like, hey, we're hiring tomorrow, whatever. But I ended up going to a radio conference in February of 2020, and they were there. And so we had kind of been talking off and on. And then in February of 2020, we met in person, and it seemed like it was going really well. And it was kind of trending towards me getting a job offer in Minneapolis. And it's a job that I wanted to take. Now, I would have had to talk with Jess and kind of, see where she stood on everything. So it didn't get it wasn't like we were at the 5-yard line, but in my mind, I wanted the job and, bigger market and, great sports town. And I had just been there for the Super Bowl. So I liked the idea of it. So then COVID hits, right? Everything gets shut down and, their station's adjusting, my station's adjusting, whatever. And so then it's April of 2020, and the guy tells me hey, we do like you, but we're shuttering all hiring. We don't, because at that point, no one knew what was going to happen with COVID. Where are you going to make money from? What's going to happen to our advertisers, et cetera. So they ended up not hiring for the position anymore. So I didn't get the job. And then 2 weeks later, the station went out of business. So it's or 2 months later. So it's a good thing that I didn't get the job, take the job a couple months earlier, and then end up being one of the guys who lost their job. That would have been the worst case scenario for me. And all those guys that I had met out there, that I talked to out there, they all ended up okay. So it's okay to tell the story now because even though that station folded, they all ended up all right. But yes, Danny, there's my story of almost moving to Minneapolis.
My next question was going to be, how's that show doing?
Again,
but it never happened.
Yeah. Yes, it never ended up happening. So, but everybody who was involved with everything at that station has ended up doing well. So actually, the guy who almost hired me is the guy, or the guy who wanted to hire me, I guess, is the guy that I've reached out to try to get his thoughts on Kirk Cousins.
So you'd be happy covering the T-Wolves?
Well, I would have been happy covering the Vikings and the Twins, But it's funny because everything works out for a reason, right? I love where I'm at now, and I love being at WDEV, and I really do feel like it's home talking, about these teams. And I don't want to be arrogant, but I think I could go into a situation and talk about Minneapolis sports teams or talk about any other group of sports teams, right? I watch sports. I like sports. I could pick up on things, and I can tell you that this offensive line is bad or that receiver group is lacking or whatever. So I don't think it would have been hard for me to talk about the Vikings or the Twins or the T-Wolves or the Wild or whatever. What I wouldn't have had was the institutional knowledge of what had gone on in the past there and how the fans are feeling about things and the history of the tormented fan base. And I wouldn't have been able to draw on what happened in the 2001 X or the 2002 Y or whatever. That stuff I can draw on now here, right? I can vividly remember the 2017 AL Division Series and the 2018 World Series and the 2021 ALCS and the Super Bowls that I've covered here and UVM's runs. It feels like home for me talking about these teams. So it is good how it worked out. Texter says, crazy radio story. You could have ended up stuck in Minneapolis just like Justin Jefferson is. Oh, there were other places that approached me too. Like back in the day, Danny, I don't know if I ever told you, but like there were a couple stations that reached out to me and I ended up staying for various reasons. The Minneapolis job was the one job that I got approached about that I wanted. There were other jobs that I got approached about that I didn't really want. Like Gainesville, Florida reached out to me and wanted to hire me back in the day. Madison, Wisconsin reached out to me and wanted to hire me back in the day. There was somebody else that now I can't remember, but like those jobs had something wrong with them or something that I didn't like. The Minneapolis job had a lot of good stuff. You know, I would have wanted it. Again, I would have had to talk to Jess, and like I don't know how she would have felt about it because, you know, just like we're seeing with the Red Sox GM stuff, your family life, your personal life plays a role in it. But that was the one job that I got approached by that I really like. Oh, there was a thing in Milwaukee where it didn't matter if I wanted it just because I didn't get it. Like it wasn't like they offered it to me. I finished second or third or fourth or something. I was in the final group there, but I didn't get it. So that job I didn't really want either. Milwaukee might have been fine, but that job would have been hard. First job I ever interviewed for, by the way, this is a funny. Now I don't have enough time to talk about UVM this second, Danny, so we'll talk about it before Buster here. But first job, get this story. You talk about a crazy radio story. First job I ever interviewed for when I was trying to leave Albany was a job in Lafayette, Louisiana. Okay. And I knew nothing about Louisiana, nothing about anything in Louisiana. Totally. And like Lafayette, Louisiana, I guess now I've learned is kind of a different world, right? Like it's like total Cajun, French influence, like in the swamp kind of stuff. Like
Ed Orgeron.
Maybe I have to look up exactly where Ed's from. But so I was in Albany. I was looking to leave. I interviewed for the job on the phone in Lafayette, Louisiana. And I got down to the final two. And I was with Jess at the time here too, but at the very beginning of our relationship, like a couple of months into our relationship. And I wanted to leave Albany. I didn't want to leave Albany. I wanted a full-time job. And so again, I don't know how that would have all played out because obviously I knew I liked her. I knew I wanted to be with her, and I don't know if she would have gone or whatever. So again, I'm doing the interview with Lafayette, Louisiana, and I get told that, hey, you're in the final two, and we'll call you kind of with, I can't remember if it was the decision or if you need one more interview, but nonetheless, I was going to get a call back. And I never got one. I just totally got ghosted. I never got a call.
Rude.
Well, the guy who interviewed me for the job and who ghosted me has become one of my best friends in the industry now. And he's a guy who I talk to all the time. He's at a different station now. He's still in Louisiana, but he's at a different station. We bounce things off each other all the time. We text each other all the time. He complains about things at his station. I don't have any complaints about my station, but I still will talk to him about complaints of my previous iterations of my career. And we talk all the time. And he's been on my shows before, actually. And I reached out to him to come on at my previous station maybe 4 years ago. Patriots had taken an LSU quarterback or something like that, or it drafted somewhere, going to draft somebody from LSU. I can't remember now. But we talked, and I said, hey, by the way, I just want to let you know, you said I was second for your job in Lafayette a couple of years ago, and you ghosted me. And he apologized and said, hey, that was really bad business. I feel really bad. But since that day, since I called him out on it, and since that day on my show, he's been my best friend in the industry. So also worked out for the best that I didn't end up in Lafayette, Louisiana. Because if I had been in Lafayette, Louisiana, I never would have ended up here, and that's where I wanted to be. So there you go. Danny, I never moved. You never would have met me had I been in Lafayette.
You made the right move.
I think I made the right move too. So it took like 4 or 5 more months for me to get a full-time job in radio and end up coming to Vermont in the first place, but I didn't end up in Lafayette. All right, UVM men's basketball media day takeaways, and then Buster. We'll get to it next after CBS News here on DEV.
This is WDEV. Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush at 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield. In Barrie at 96.5. In Montpelier at 98.3. Along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury, Montpelier. Streaming at WDEVradio.com. 92 years of serving Vermont. The friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica Ricks. President Biden's gearing up for tonight's big primetime address from the White House.
The president is expected to lay out his case for an aid package for both Israel and Ukraine as part of a broader aid package that would include border security and aid to Indo-Pacific countries, including Taiwan. The aid package, worth $100 billion, also will include defense funding to shore up U.S. military readiness. Mr. Biden plans to make the case that the wars in Ukraine and Israel represent an inflection point in global security and are therefore in the U.S. national security interests. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, Washington.
A new CBS News poll shows mixed reaction on the president's handling of the war. 44% approve, which is only slightly higher than his presidential approval rating at just 40%. Airstrikes are still pummeling portions of Gaza as civilians there wait on much-needed supplies. Mohsen Sarhans with the Egyptian Food Bank.
At the border, there are around 120 trucks stationed there. And then you have also around 7 to 8 cargo planes load of supplies.
But there is concern. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller.
The Israelis have very serious concerns about the diversion of humanitarian assistance. They're worried that assistance that goes in will be diverted to Hamas. We are working out an agreement to ensure that any deliveries can be handled appropriately.
Jim Jordan will continue his bid for Speaker as House Republicans shut down a plan to temporarily promote Patrick McHenry. Here's CBS's Scott McFarland.
A plan to temporarily expand the powers and portfolio of Speaker Pro Tem Patrick McHenry of North Carolina landed with a thud. In a meeting of House Republicans today, they realized they'd need Democratic votes to do it. They closed the door on it with no endgame in sight.
California Senator LaFonza Butler says she will not seek a full Senate term next year. She was appointed just a few weeks ago to fill Dianne Feinstein's seat, but Butler says it's not the greatest use of her voice. Murder at a military installation.
Military investigators are handling a murder case at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. A Marine was killed in a barracks Wednesday evening, and a second Marine was taken into custody. No other information has been released, including how the Marine died.
That's CBS's Jim Krasula reporting. Stellantis will temporarily lay off another 100 auto workers in Ohio due to ongoing strikes. Ford also cut 150 jobs late last night in Michigan.
There's a lot going on in the world. We need to
Jon Stewart's breaking up with Apple. His show The Problem was set to return for a third season, but just got canceled over reported creative differences over potential topics and guests. This is CBS News.
You need to hire? Indeed is with you every step of the way, helping you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Have you been thinking about installing a heat pump but didn't know where to start? Mitsubishi Electric Heating and Air Conditioning heat pumps provide year-round comfort with air filtration and precise temperature control. Plus, generous incentives and rebates are now available. Contact the Diamond Elite Certified Technicians at the Energy Co-op of Vermont for a free quote at ecvt.net.
Use less, save more at the Energy Co-op of Vermont.
Marvin windows are designed for unprecedented performance and exceptional aesthetics. Marvin's expansive window portfolio has every style you can imagine, all of them crafted with the highest quality material and the ability to mix and match across product lines that allows you to achieve the right form and function for your residential, commercial, and replacement needs. See our Marvin specialist at Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber in Middlesex, St. Albans, Enosburg, Swanton, and Derby, or online at sticksandstuff.com.
Just because you're away from your radio or out of our broadcast range doesn't mean you have to miss out. Listen live on the WDEV stream, brought to you by AARP Vermont. WDEV's morning, midday, and afternoon news services, Vermont Viewpoint, and the Brady Farkas Show can all be found on the WDEV stream at WDEVradio.com. Brought to you by AARP Vermont, helping Vermonters protect themselves from identity theft and fraud. More information at aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork.
Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results.
I've been advertising on WDEV for a number of years now. It's been a really great spot for me to get my name out.
We're an excellent partner for our advertising dollars.
We jumped at the opportunity and we're so pleased we did. We have experienced incredible results.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Danny, we just got our American Legion dinners. You've got the minestrone soup. You're going to have to wait till the next commercial break to eat it. Sometimes they bring it over to us, which is awesome. And sometimes we go there and get it. I love hanging out at the Legion, but sometimes they bring it over to us, and they did that today. So you're going to have to wait on your soup. If I can't eat in the commercial break, neither can you. Or
I like to bring it home anyway.
You like to bring it home? I like to leave it in the fridge here at work and have it as my lunch for the next day.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah, but you're going to eat it as your true dinner.
Yes.
All right, there you go. 802-585-3026. Buster's going to be with us in a couple of minutes live from the ALCS where he's covering the Astros and the Rangers. But we did have UVM men's basketball media day yesterday. It's done virtually. It's done over Zoom. And we grabbed all the audio from it. Danny and I have listened to it. There's a couple of things that stood out to me. It's relatively benign. It's only 15 minutes long. They kind of do it. It's the whole conference's media day. And they kind of just go in 15-minute segments, kind of team by team. So John Becker was there. Aaron Deloney was there. There's still some things, though, that stood out to me. Becker, as he's told us, addressed the state of the UVM schedule and said they're looking for something specific when they make their schedule moving forward, Danny.
And we just hope that we can continue to add back more Northeast teams. There's so many good mid-major programs in the Northeast. Hopefully we can continue to add those games back to have more reasonable travel while still playing really competitive games.
So that stood out to me because I do believe it is a administrative decision to try to save money. I believe the administration is trying to save money. I believe the administration does not want UVM to have to fly to California or fly to Florida or fly to Washington or Kansas or wherever because they just don't want to pay for it, right? And we can bitch and moan about that, but I believe that to be true. I think the administration is looking to save money and does not want this team traveling all over the country, being gone for 20 days in November, having to pay for hotel rooms, etc. So I also think Becker would like to, it's less about the money. I think he would like less travel so that his team can be in school more, can practice more, because this team was hurt last year by being gone all of November. When they were gone in all of November, they weren't able to practice. And as a result, when you can't practice, you get the performances we saw in November last year where the team was 1-7, I believe, in their first 8 non-conference games. So I think the administration wants less travel because they want to save money. I think Becker wants less travel because he wants more practice time. As for what he says about wanting more Northeast games, that accomplishes all goals, right? Saves money, less air travel, less hotel expenses. It also gives them more practice time because they're able to be in their own gym because they're not having to travel as much. What I want to know is, who are they going to bring on the schedule? This is not a gotcha moment. It's a legitimate question. When he talks about wanting to get some of the good mid-major programs from the Northeast on the schedule, who are we talking about? I just want to know. I would love to see UVM play UMass. But that's an A10 program. That's a true mid-major, not a low major. Is that above what UVM can get? What if they went to UMass twice and UMass came here once? Don't know if it's possible. I'd love to see UMass. I'd love to see Rhode Island on the schedule. That also is an Atlantic 10 program. That also could be a similar 2-for-1 thing. But that's hard, but I'd love to see it. Okay? Who else? I mean, can they get Princeton, right? They're already good with the Ivy League, right? They're already playing Yale. They're already playing Dartmouth. They're already playing Brown. Can they get Princeton, a team that went to the Sweet 16 last year? Can they get Harvard back on the schedule, who had been there for a number of years. I would love to see those games, right? I don't need to see Linden State and Plattsburgh. If you could get rid of Linden and Plattsburgh and bring Harvard to town, I'd be happy with that. If you could bring UMass to town once every 3 years, I'd be happy with that. I'd love to see them get back and play Siena like they did for a couple of years at the early part of my tenure here, right? Siena's a program I know well, having grown up in Albany. They used to play Siena all the time. I don't know who wanted out of that series. My gut tells me it's probably Siena. I don't know that for a fact. I just know the way that they operate. My gut tells me that they wanted out, but I'd love to see them get back in with Siena, right? The Merrimack game is not that great a game. The Dartmouth game, frankly, from my standpoint, is not that great a game. I'd like to replace both of those games if I could. So Becker says he wants more Northeast games. I don't know who exactly he's referring to, but I'd love for them to find out. I like the non-conference schedule this year for UVM in a lot of ways outside of those dueling D3 games, but I would like to see some of these regional teams we're talking about, these regional teams of interest. This one stood out to me, Danny, and I admittedly did not know this, that UVM and Gonzaga are the only programs in the country to win their league title 7 consecutive years. Now, UVM was picked to win it again this year. Gonzaga was picked not to win the West Coast Conference for the first time in wherever. I believe it was St. Mary's who was picked to win that. So Becker was asked about the idea of winning 8 league titles in a row and maybe being the only team to do that.
It would mean a lot, actually. You know, we have a lot of incredible records, and with what we've done here at Vermont, and Gonzaga is the one that seems to one up us for a lot of them, and so. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the hardest thing to do is to win the regular season title. You know, we don't take that lightly, and that's a really hard thing to do, to be the best team throughout, the 2-month conference schedule.
I don't really have a follow-up to what Becker said there. I just thought it was interesting to know that I hadn't realized that they had won it 7 straight years and that only Gonzaga had accomplished that feat. I don't think UVM is going to become Gonzaga. A lot of people want them to become like Gonzaga. I don't think that's attainable. I don't think that's realistic. What Gonzaga has done is special and it's rare. I don't think that UVM can get anywhere near that. But to be above Gonzaga potentially in the record books, I think would be pretty special as well. This one, Danny, really stuck out to me. And it's kind of nerding out on roster construction, but I think it's important to mention here. Becker said that it was really, really important for the program to target guys in the transfer portal that have more than 1 year of eligibility left. Most of the transfers that UVM has brought in have multiple years of eligibility left.
That's a huge thing. And Brenton's a 1-year guy, but TJ, Jace, Shamir all have 2 years. And I think that's huge because like Matt, like for instance, again, we're learning as we go, but Matt feels like he's a Vermont player at this point. Like, and O'Leary, same thing. He had 3 years. That's really important.
Becker said that next year things are going to look more normal for UVM. And I think that's important. And I think that's good for fans. I think that's good for the team, for continuity purposes. I think that's good for everybody. Like 2 years ago, they lost a lot. So they needed to replace a lot. So then you saw 5 or 6 guys come in to backfill the roster. And then as a result, last year, those guys left, and then you bring in 5 guys, right? Like, so Dylan Penn is gone, and they're losing a bunch of other guys. This year they bring in 8 new players. Most of them have more than 1 year of eligibility left. As a result, next year you don't need to bring in 8 new players again. So I think that's good for everybody because fans like to latch on to players, even at this level. Fans like to latch on to players. Fans like some security or like some continuity. They like knowing who they're coming to watch. I don't think it's great for everybody to go to Patrick Gym and not know exactly who's going to be on the team on any given year. you start to build the continuity back up, get some 3-year players, get some 4-year players, and your transfers are going to be there for at least 2, like Finn Sullivan was, like Iliri Iofalier is, like Matt Veretto is. I think that's good for everybody, and I think that was a good way of attacking things for UVM, right? Could they have gone out and found 6 players that all have 1 year left to backfill the roster and then have to do the same thing next year? Yeah, they probably could, but they're not going to have to because they made a calculated and targeted move to go out and get players in the portal who will be here for more than 1 year. Tex says, I'd like to see them play Iona or St. Joe's. That's fair, right? St. Joe's, another A10 team. I don't know that you could get them, right? Same as UMass, same as URI. I certainly don't think I could get all 3. You'd be lucky to get 1. I'd be willing to play any of those 3. Tex says also UVM is the Gonzaga of the East. Well, that's if you want to believe that. Danny, by the way, Buster texted me. He's going to be with us in a minute here. But did you see this? There's actually big news in the America East right now. So Bryant, kind of our great foil now to UVM in the conference, Bryant was picked 3rd in the league preseason poll. They also were the only team to have multiple players on the preseason all-conference team. Well, their head coach, Jared Grasso, has been put on administrative leave. And there is a new video out that has been put out on social media. And I got to pull it up here because I want to make sure I get everything exactly right. But it is very possible that Jared Grasso loses his job at Bryant. I don't know that, right? I don't know that, but Jared Grasso's in some trouble. So I don't know what caused Jared Grasso to get put on administrative leave in the first place, but now there is a police video out of, so this says, North Smithfield Police today released body-worn camera footage from when they questioned Bryant University head men's basketball coach Jared Grasso in connection with a hit and run. Grasso was charged October 8th with failure to stop for an accident resulting in damage to a vehicle, which is a misdemeanor. Police said that a car traveling at a high rate of speed sideswiped another and then continued down the highway. The woman who was hit gave the suspect's license plate, which led them to Grasso. So it's very interesting. Sideswiping a vehicle and leaving is certainly not a great look. It is the misdemeanor, though. I don't know that it would be a fireable offense. But the video of Grasso being talking with the police is not a great situation. Like Grasso, again, this is legal stuff, so I don't like to get into things that I don't know fully about. But I watched most of the interaction with the police officer, and Grasso makes it sound like he thinks he's being targeted here. Like he thinks he's being railroaded. Like he's been suspended at the school, and now he feels like people have it out for him and people are coming for him. Like he said things like he thinks he's being watched or things have been happening to him shadily for a couple of weeks now. I don't know, but it is a weird situation. So I don't know what got him suspended or put on administrative leave. Now you have this video about the hit and run, which I have to imagine is a second incident here. And you have the way he was talking to police. It just looks odd. Maybe I'm premature to say he might lose his job. Like he very well could lose his job, but there's more to this story, right? There's more to this going on. It's an interesting story to follow if you're a UVM fan, because Bryant is certainly one of the big rivals of UVM now. All right. A guy who's not our rival, he's very much our friend, and he makes time for us always, even when he's live at the American League Championship Series. It is Buster Olney. Buster Olney, our ESPN MLB insider in Arlington for Rangers and Astros. Danny tells me in my ear we do have Buster on the phone line now. A lot I want to get to. Buster, thank you for being with us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Down in Arlington, part of our coverage on the American League Championship Series, Astros and Rangers. Certainly a fascinating series on this side, maybe a little bit more compelling than what we're seeing with a wipeout in the National League.
Yeah, we're going to have that game tonight, by the way, on the air, 7:30 with the pregame show, just after 8 o'clock with the first pitch as the Astros look to even up the series. Buster, before I get into baseball, I got to tell you, I'm feeling a little bit bad today because when I saw what Pat McAfee pays Aaron Rodgers to come on the show, I'm starting to think we got to do some crowdsourcing to get you in that neighborhood.
Well, if you are able to do that, over $1 million an episode, I'm open to it. I'm here for you.
Well, we will do what we can. The holidays are approaching, so who knows what we can wrangle up. But hey, Buster, I got to tell you, I am, I love baseball. You know this, and I love baseball in all of its iterations and all of its forms. But I have to really I have started to change the foundational way in which I think about playoff baseball. And that kind of disappoints me because for a long time, I thought you could not be a team that only hits home runs and win in October. The pitching would be too good. You'd have to find a way to manufacture runs, hit and run, steal bases, etc. And I look at baseball now. I think teams that out-homer their opponents are 17-3 in the playoffs. More than 50% of runs now are scored in the playoffs via the home run. It's a totally different game than what I had always been conditioned to think.
I would agree with you, and especially now with the way that pitchers are used and teams, every team has all these relievers that throw 100 miles per hour, and hitters now are hitting high fastballs in particular more than ever. The Phillies are a great example of this, where it feels like it's a softball lineup where the goal of the hitters is to drive the ball out of the ballpark. I think there's less focus on base running more than ever, and maybe it's a classic example of that is what we're seeing with the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. With the Diamondbacks, finished second out of 30 teams in stolen bases. They got Corbin Carroll, who's a great base runner. And it absolutely feels like you've got a flyweight facing a heavyweight in a boxing match. And it feels like that the Diamondbacks are overmatched in part because they don't have the softball lineup that the Phillies have.
One of the things that's frustrating here from a Red Sox perspective in watching the playoffs is to see what Kyle Schwarber is doing. And I advocated for bringing Kyle Schwarber back. I know it would have been tough because they had JD Martinez at DH, in 2022. And then Schwarber isn't really a defensive player. So there would have been a log jam in bringing Schwarber back. But man, I wanted him back, and he is showing why I wanted him back and why the Red Sox miss him so much.
And I think there's a lot of regret within the Red Sox organization, and certainly the money spent, during the last offseason, shows that they had the money if they wanted to, and if they essentially had a spot for a DH type player, and not only as you and I have talked about in the past, not only about Schwarber, what he brings offensively, high on base percentage, power. But on top of that, there seemed to be great value in him as a teammate and drawing people together. Kevin Long, who is their, the Phillies hitting coach, told me in the spring he's never seen a player better at being a teammate than Kyle Schwarber because his goal every day is A, to win, and B, to pull the group of players together. And with the belief that in doing B, you improve your chances of A. With a better clubhouse, you have a better chance to win. I think he's worked like crazy to pull in guys like Bryce Harper and fringy guys on the roster. It feels like every day you hear stories about him just trying to draw people closer because they can pull collectively. I think you would agree with me on this point. When you watch the Phillies play, you can just see how much fun they're having.
Yep.
And I think Kyle Schwarber has a lot to do with that.
Buster Olney, ESPN MLB Insider with us here on the Brady Farkas Show, WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. It's a little early for off-season speculation, but since we're talking about DH types, this just came to my mind here. Justin Turner for the Red Sox has a player option, so he's got 1 year, $13 million coming to him if he comes back to Boston. Do you feel like Turner could get better than that on the open market, or is there a chance he actually opts into that deal?
I think there is a chance he gets better, or at least as much someplace else. I mean, he's in a great spot. He had a terrific year in Lake Schwarber, an excellent reputation as being a clubhouse guy, and he's got enormous credibility. I think the question coming out of last year, or 2022, was can he stay healthy? And he did that, relatively speaking, for the Red Sox. So I do think he's going to have some choices, and it really is going to come down to, where, and if I know Justin, it's going to be about, what spot gives him the best chance to win.
Buster, let's continue on with the Red Sox. We've made a lot this week about their general manager search, right? The first report came out that they were having trouble filling the position. Then we got wind of some of the candidates. Now even more candidates have pulled out. What is your assessment of how difficult this job has been to fill for Boston?
That it's typical. Look, I know that there's this narrative sort of developing that no one wants to work for the Red Sox. And I do think, that it's viewed as a challenging job, but that's not new. Like when John Henry took over as owner, and you guys, you and I have talked about this in the past, they offered the job to Billy Beane, and after initially accepting it, he turned it down. He changed his mind because he knew it was going to be a dramatic lifestyle change. Being the general manager of a team in Boston is not the same as being the GM of a team in Oakland. And so, again, when you look at the individual cases of people who turned down, Mike Hazen, just having lost his wife and his 4 kids, grew up in Phoenix in recent years, you understand that's not necessarily about the Red Sox and how difficult may or may not be there. Brandon Gomes is a great situation with the Dodgers, who are viewed as not only a preeminent franchise, but a great place to work. Each of the individual places, if some of these guys are turning them down, you get it. Sam Fold with the Philadelphia Phillies, working for Dave Dombrowski. Dombrowski's older. Sam would be a natural heir whenever Dave wants to move on. And they're really smart people and good people who are interested in that job. As you've seen, there's a feeling that they're down the tracks. Craig Breslow, the former pitcher who's been working in front offices. I would say the thing that surprises me a little bit, if that's where they land, is that they again get a person in that role for a first time. And Breslow's coming from a different situation that Chaim Bloom did, in that Chaim, it didn't really have experience in the Boston market. Craig knows the market because he pitched there. He's been in a big chair and answered questions, but I am surprised that if in fact they wind up with Craig, it's someone where his first job is in Boston. That is a surprise.
What do you think about Kim Ng? It's a name we had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, even before all this happened with the Marlins. You had painted a picture, as I recall, that you weren't sure she would want the job. Now she's unemployed. Do you think she's more likely to want the job?
I think she would be perfect for what the Red Sox are looking for. I mentioned with Craig, my big question would be experience. Well, Kim Ng has experience. And, you and I talked many times about Chaim Bloom and his sense of urgency and whether or not it matched Boston and the expectations of the Red Sox fan base. Kim demonstrated in her work with the Marlins, she works with a high degree of urgency. Even in the same division as the Braves and the Phillies and the Mets with the biggest payroll in baseball. She had a thought about she wanted to build a team last winter. She made aggressive trades like for Luis Arraez at the trade deadline. Even though the Marlins just lost 8 games in a row, she augmented the offense, getting Jake Berger and Josh Bell. She stepped up and she made big deals. She wasn't afraid. And that's, I think whoever's in that chair in Boston, that needs to be that way. And we know this. She has a past relationship with Alex Cora. It would make sense for the Red Sox to interview her, to talk to her before they make this hire. And it would be surprising and I think a little disappointing if they didn't at least, if John Henry didn't at least give him a chance to sit down with Kim and get a sense of who she is before he makes it a choice.
Buster, we talked a little bit about this yesterday with Tom Karen. I'll ask you kind of your sense from the national standpoint here. Kim Ng wanted out of Miami because she didn't want to be a part of the power struggle there in the front office. Well, there's also, I think, fear about a power struggle in Boston in that who has the power really? Is it the GM or is it Alex Cora? How big a deal do you think it is to people nationally just how much weight Cora carries in the organization versus maybe this position would?
I think on the surface, you're right. Your analysis is dead on. A couple things. First off, Kim, I think in the end left the Marlins because she was essentially offered a demotion. It's actually a fairly comparable situation to what happened with Ben Cherington with the Red Sox. When Dave Dombrowski was brought in, Ben, who had built this World Series champion in 2013, then built a farm system with the likes of Mookie Betts, was basically told, yeah, we're bringing in Dave Dombrowski, and you're going to be moved from the number 1 chair to the number 2 chair. That's what Kim was told was going to happen, and so she decided to leave under those circumstances. And you're right, there is a perception that Alex holds a lot of sway. That's why, I think it's great. It would be great that Alex, has a previous relationship, not only with Kim, but also Craig Breslow. But also something else is that when you talk to people who worked with Alex in the past, people are really comfortable with him. They feel like that he's a good teammate. He's not someone who needs to be the star. And we actually have some anecdotal evidence to that end. When Alex was a veteran infielder with the Red Sox, and they have a young second baseman coming up, and Dustin Pedroia, and Terry Francona basically tells Alex, look, we need you to be a mentor to this guy, and you're going to be playing a lot less. And Alex completely embraced that role. Like, he has no problem being a part of a larger solution. He knows he can't do all the work in the Red Sox organization, and he knows that they need someone, in that head of baseball operations role that, is really good at what they do, and someone that he can work with. And so people I've spoken with are not afraid of, Alex's presence and the power that he has within the Red Sox organization.
Buster, I'll get you out of here on this. Again, it's just a futile off-season fodder exercise here, but I'm sure you've seen the scuttle from another publication about possible Juan Soto suitors this offseason. The Red Sox were listed as one of them. I'm just curious what sense you get about Soto's availability in general this offseason.
I think he's going to be available for sure if, in fact, the Padres are going to try to take their payroll from 280 to 200. Look, you and I can do the math. If you're going to cut your payroll by, a third, and you already have Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts and Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish and Jake Cronenworth and, other guys under contract, there's not going to be a lot of money left. And Soto's going to be a free agent in a year. And he's a Scott Boras client. You're not going to be able to sign him. He's wildly expensive for the year coming up. And so I think, I think there's an excellent chance he's going to be traded. I would say among the teams that it makes sense for, the Red Sox are not near the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like the Red Sox have a long way to go before they're necessarily viewed as a contender. And, to get Juan Soto, you might not have to give up the package comparable to what the Padres gave up to get him, because he's only got a year till free agency. But you're still going to have to give up something significant. It would make no sense to me that would be their focus. It feels like that if they're going to spend major resources, they should do it on pitching.
Certainly, and there's the Yamamoto, the Japanese pitcher who's coming over, who could command $200 million. That's a guy the Red Sox should and likely will be at least kicking the tires on. Buster, enjoy Arlington Game 4 tonight, ALCS. We're going to have it for you here on DEV with our coverage at 7:30. And Buster, we look forward to catching up with you again in 7 days. Thank you.
Thanks, Brady. Absolutely.
There goes Buster Olney live from the American League Championship Series. Buster, what a guy. What a guy that Buster takes time for us here, working at the ALCS, just an hour away from coverage beginning. I've talked to Buster before live from the dugout at places. He's talked to me from the clubhouse at Game 6 of the World Series before. Buster always makes time for us, and we always appreciate it. A couple things here real quick before we break. I'm with Buster that Soto is not the first thing the Red Sox need. If he was acquirable for, now modest is a relative term here, but for moderate or for modest superstar acquisition prices, I would do it. But they do need pitching, right? Like, we all know that. They need pitching. Yamamoto from Japan, Sonny Gray, Jordan Montgomery, whoever, Aaron Nola, they need pitching. So if they're going to just spend money, they need pitching. If you're talking about, potentially going to get, Soto, I would do it. I would want it. But with the glut of outfielders that they have, it's not the top of the line move, probably. The stuff on the GMs was fascinating. I said it yesterday. It would be organizational malpractice if they didn't call Kim Ng and inquire if she wants the job, right? Like, you have to at least interview her. I don't know that she'd want to come, given the big market nature. I don't know that she'd want to come and wouldn't be scared off by the Alex Cora dynamic. I think that's a real concern for people. But you have to at least interview her. And like we said yesterday, and like we heard from John Tomasi, and like Buster said, She was aggressive at the trade deadline. She made moves that Chaim Bloom hadn't been willing to make. She parted with prospects. She acquired impact players to go try to help you make a playoff run, and the Marlins made the playoffs. The other thing is just kind of fun. I joke with Buster about getting him $1 million, but Danny, you saw this thing last week, right? About how Pat McAfee pays Aaron Rodgers. Buster said $1 million an episode. That can't be right. And I believe $1 million a season. So Aaron Rodgers goes on Pat McAfee's show every week of the season. I believe every season he gets $1 million to do that. This became like a huge deal last week. You saw this story, right?
I did, yeah.
I have absolutely no idea why this became a big deal. Absolutely no idea. Like maybe I'm so deep in the forest that I can't see the trees here. I thought everybody knew that some people get paid to make weekly appearances on radio shows.
I think there's that, but I think average sports fans maybe thought they're just good friends and they've been talking forever. So he just comes on because he wants to.
They are good friends, but there's still a monetary component for it. Like, it's very clear. Like, they very well might like each other a lot, but they're absolutely using each other. That's how this works. Pat McAfee is using Aaron Rodgers to generate revenue for his show, to generate eyeballs on his show. Aaron Rodgers is using Pat McAfee for money and for an opportunity to go and get out his views on things. Like, it doesn't bother me that Aaron Rodgers gets paid. Maybe the amount of money is high, but Pat McAfee has it. Pat McAfee paying $1 million is like me paying somebody $100.
How much did McAfee get from ESPN?
I don't know, but McAfee's business is worth like $500 million. He can afford $1 million to give to Aaron Rodgers. That's just good investment on McAfee's part, as far as I'm concerned. Like, the whole thing, I thought, got completely overblown. And if people didn't know that guests are paid to come on shows, now you do. They are. Now, in full disclosure, I have not paid hardly any guests in my career to come on.
We're starting a GoFundMe for Stan Van Gundy, though, right?
Just a one-time GoFundMe for Stan? Yeah, we'd love to get Stan Van Gundy on. Yeah, definitely. And we need to with this Castleton tie-in. But, like, look, Buster does not get paid to come on our show, right? Phil Perry does not get paid to come on our show. Now, I will send Buster and Phil some Christmas stuff at the holidays as a thank you for coming on our show, but they do not get paid. They come on for free. I have been places in my career there where people, we used to pay one NFL insider at my old station in Albany $250 a week to come on. $250 a week. So by the end of the year, he made, over $5,000. And that was great for that insider to get money. It was great for us to get the content. I had no problem. Like, I wasn't the guy who was in charge of it. I asked somebody once to come on our show every week, and they said, yeah, $300 a week. And we said no to that person because we just couldn't pay that person. But, like, I thought it was well known by people that some guests get paid to go on shows. And I guess it's not. Texter says, great interview with Buster, as always. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Brady Farkas show is continuing on here on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Flag football in the Summer Olympics. NFL players want in. Will and should they be allowed? That's next on DEV.
The 18th annual Big Dog Daddy urine clearance sale is on fire at Lamoille Valley Ford. Tell them, kid.
Folks, don't let the noise about strikes and supply chain issues affect you, because at Lamoille Valley Ford, our lot is loaded with incredible deals. In fact, with over 300 new and pre-owned vehicles available, including the largest selection of Ford trucks we've had on the lot in the last 4 years, I can personally tell you at Lamoille Valley Ford, we're making deals every day. Right now, qualified buyers can get any new in-stock F-150 at Lamoille Valley Ford with 0% financing for 36 months. Or with $4,900 cash or trade down plus fees, you can get a 2-year lease on a loaded 2023 F-150 Super Cab for just $299 per month. Folks, the bottom line is we're making crazy deals to make room for next year's incoming models, and that means this is your opportunity to save money at Lamoille Valley Ford.
Woo! So drive routes 14, 15, or 16 to Hardwick and the Big Dog Daddy year-end clearance sale happening right now at Lamoille Valley Ford. And remember, at Lamoille Valley Ford, we know price matters.
Zachary's Pizza has been a local favorite for more than 50 years, and now you can enjoy that perfect blend of sauce, cheese, and toppings at the Twin City Fun Center. Visit Zachary's Pizza for dine-in, takeout, and Now delivery. Call or order online. Zachary's Pizza, TwinCity.com.
New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, proudly supporting local government, local businesses, and WDEV.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Hey, it's Charlie Papillo. Join me on the next Travels with Charlie. Burlington Business Association Director Kelly Devine will be with me to discuss the ongoing challenges in the Queen City. We'll be taking your calls for comments and questions. Plus, the Casella Waste Sustainability Spotlight with Jeff Weld. Travels with Charlie is brought to you by Casella Waste Systems, Jolly Convenience Stores, Milne Travel, and Myers Wood-Fired Bagels. I'll see you in my travels Monday at 1 right here on WDEV.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM at WDEVradio.com. We'll talk about some UVM women's basketball stuff here momentarily. Danny, this cool story right now. We got the game on in the studio. The NLCS game is 0-0 right now between the Phillies and the Diamondbacks at the bottom of the sixth. Phillies just went to the bullpen and brought in this guy, Jeff Hoffman. And Jeff Hoffman is another guy from Albany, New York, who is, when I was first starting out in radio, he was one of the first, local guys that I started following at Albany, and because I was really into the local stuff and I was the only guy who could get the local guys on. So he was at East Carolina. He got drafted number 9 overall in the draft by the Blue Jays. And so I got him on right around the draft. I got him on right after he got drafted. I got him on as he was starting his professional career, and his career took some side turns, and he was in Toronto, and he was in Colorado, and then he was in Cincinnati, and he was in, kind of finding his way. And here he is 30 years old now, and he's in the bullpen as a power arm for the Phillies trying to get to the World Series. So I got love for him because he's an Albany guy like me, and I got love for him because, as I was starting my career, he was starting his career, and we actually have not connected in 7 years now at this point. I'd love to get him on this show again, especially if the Phillies are able to win the whole thing. But he's a guy who, helped me establish my profile in this business as he was establishing his. So 802-585-3026. I teased this story about flag football in the Olympics, and a couple texters have questions on it. Let me back up here and talk about this as best I can, right? I want to make sure I get everything as close to 100% right as possible. The 2024 Olympics are being played in Paris. Flag football is not in that Olympics. Sports kind of come and go from the Olympic calendar. I think they get voted on by people, and then the home country can kind of pick up some sports that they want to add because they want to showcase them, or they think their country might be able to win it, whatever. So the 2028 Olympics are in the United States. They're in Los Angeles. So added back to the Olympic program is baseball, right? Baseball is added back to the Olympic program in 2028. It is not in the 2024 program. Paris, Europe, France doesn't have a huge baseball presence, so it's not going to be there. It is going to be in the U.S. in 2028. So baseball's in, that makes sense. Flag football has also been put in now into the 2028 Olympics for Los Angeles. Also not in Paris, 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. So we see kind of weird offshoot sports get put in, right? We've seen 3-on-3 basketball is now an Olympic sport as well. So flag football is going to be the Olympics in 2028. I heard Gronk the other day say that he wants to play in the Olympics. I heard Tyreek Hill the other day say that he wants to play in the Olympics. Let's address a couple of things. I don't want to see active NFL players play in the Olympics. And it really has nothing to do with getting hurt. Okay? A lot of you will think, you don't want to see your favorite players get hurt. I don't have any interest in seeing NFL players in the Olympics because it would not be competitive, right? Like, it would not be competitive. There is not enough of a football presence around the world that, like, it would not be fun for me to see U.S. professionals go up against the world. There are not enough qualified people around the world playing football that are NFL players. I mean, it wouldn't even be fun. It is fun for me to watch NHL players play in the Olympics because there's rich hockey traditions in the U.S. and in Canada and in Slovakia and in the Czech Republic and in Sweden and in Finland, and in Russia when Russia's eligible to be in the Olympics. Like, there are rich hockey traditions. So I love watching NHL players play because it is phenomenal hockey. I love watching NBA players play in the Olympics because, again, it is getting to the point where it is phenomenal basketball. Even though Team USA is the favorite, okay, we've seen Argentina beat Team USA before. We've seen Greece beat Team USA before. You've got Spain, who's phenomenal. You've got France, who's excellent, right? Like, you've got Germany, who's had good teams before. So there are good teams in the Olympics that make it a challenge in basketball, right? You've got Luka playing for Slovenia. You've got Serbia that can have Jokic. There are good teams all around the world. So I feel like seeing the best of the NBA and all the European professional leagues, you see good competition. You would not get that in the NFL. Like, you would not get that in football. So I think it would be better to have amateurs or have college players or have retired NFL players. Like, a team with Tom Brady and Gronk, I imagine, could still go win the gold medal, even as Brady's going to be 50 and Gronk's going to be 38 or whatever. I still think those guys could probably go win the gold medal, given where football's at as a worldwide sport. So I don't want to see the players play in the Olympics, right? It just wouldn't be competitive. I'm still in the Olympics for pageantry, patriotism, and competition. And this would not be fun to go and see, 70-0 beatdowns of us against some, country that's just picked up football for the first time. That I don't need it. The question the texter wants to know is, would NFL guys be eligible to play? That's going to be a collective bargaining agreement thing. There will be a conversation and a collective bargaining agreement, and they will come to a decision. Danny, Roger Goodell was talking about this yesterday. Let me hear what Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, says first.
I think now to put it on that stage, of the Olympic stage, is really putting a sign of approval and a seal of approval. And frankly, it's going to be a stage that I think a lot of athletes are going to want to participate in, including former current NFL players. And so we'll have to work through all that. But I think it's a great opportunity for the athletes. I think it's a great opportunity for the NFL. And I think it'll be a great opportunity for people to understand football and what it brings to the world.
The NFL wants flag football in the Olympics, make no mistake, because it's a money-making opportunity, right? No matter who plays in the Olympics, people will watch flag football. People will see it's fun. Other countries will pick up flag football, will pick up football, and the NFL will generate more fans. The NFL is into this because of the money that will come from it, right? If you pick up fans from around the world who now learn about football and decide they like football, then you're going to get people who want to go to games, go to international games, want to buy jerseys, want to get the NFL Sunday ticket package. That's what the NFL wants. So they want this. As for players playing in it, active players, it's going to be collectively bargained. And I don't know what the decision will come to, but you absolutely could see NFL players in the Olympics. I don't know that you will, right? Like baseball, it's bargained that the major league players will not play in the Olympics. Minor league players are eligible to play in the Olympics, right? Anyone who's in the minors, who's not part of the Major League Baseball Players Union, they can play in the Olympics. That's why we saw Tristan Casas play for Team USA in Tokyo in 2021, right? Tristan Casas was a minor leaguer. He went and played in the Olympics. Okay. In the NHL, we saw NHL players in the Olympics for multiple Olympics, right? We saw it in 2002 and 2006 and 2010 and 2014 and 2018, I believe also. Maybe not. No, 2018. They got rid of it maybe for 2018 and 2022, but they had it so that the NHL players could play in the Olympics for several years. At least 4 Olympics, maybe 5 NHL players were playing. So you might be able to see guys like whatever it gets bargained with, that will happen. I imagine that NFL players will not play, given that the Olympics are in July and August, and that's right in the heart of training camp. And I imagine that teams will not want to see Patrick Mahomes leaving training camp and going to play in flag football in the Olympics. I imagine you won't see it. That does not mean you definitely won't see it. It's very well possible that you could. We've seen it in the NHL. We've seen it in the NBA. But because this is so close to in season and with the injury risk, I don't think it's going to happen. College players leaving their programs to go play, maybe. Former players, retired players, practice squad players, maybe. But I don't think you'll see Patrick Mahomes playing for Team USA in the Olympics. But it's 5 years from now, and there's plenty of time to make these decisions and plenty of time to get things collectively bargained. I imagine if the players really say they want to play, the best way to get them not to play is going to be some kind of monetary thing, right? Okay, the salary cap's going up, the league minimum's going up, the players' salaries are going up. That's how you buy players out of wanting to play in the Olympics. But if they want to play, it'll be a discussion. It will be a discussion. All right, Danny, we don't really have time for a break, so let's kind of change some things up here. So we're not going to take the break here that we're supposed to take. We'll kind of maneuver around the commercial breaks here. I want to get to the UVM women's basketball stuff a little bit and close the show with that. UVM women's basketball held their portion of Conference Media Day today, and the overwhelming theme for me of UVM Women's Media Day was not being complacent and not expecting things, right? Elisa Kresge spoke, and Anna Olsen spoke, and Emma Utterback spoke, and they made it very clear that we know we're the favorite. They were picked as the favorite. We know we're the favorite. We know we have a target on our back. We know we won last year. But just because we won last year does not mean we are guaranteed to win this year. That's basically what Elisa Kresge was saying.
There are definitely things that I think we can take from last season that hopefully were learning curves that took us a little more time last season that maybe we can get through faster because we've been through it. And that's the highs and the lows of the season, trying to get out of those lows faster. So there's things we can take from it, but we know for sure this is a new team and this current roster has not done it together yet. So we are really having that mentality that the slate is clean and we got to go prove something again. We can't rely on what we did last year overall.
And Elisa Kresge has talked with us multiple times over the course of the offseason about her team not getting complacent and not looking ahead and not getting too far in front of them on the schedule and talking about winning little benchmarks and little goals. And her team right now is saying the right things at the podium as well. Danny, you were in on the Women's Media Day stuff today. Was that kind of the overwhelming theme that you saw as well?
Yeah, that seemed to be the repeating theme there.
Yeah, they want to make sure that they are checking every box along the way and not just looking towards the end of the season. And it's human nature, and they're college students, so you may see them have an off night where they're caught looking past somebody or they're looking ahead towards something. Elisa Kresge is going to try her best to make sure that's not the case. One other fun thing that stood out to me, Danny, was what Anna Olsen said. She was asked what she's working on this year. I thought this was a good answer.
Definitely working on my mid-range game, trying to space the floor out a little bit, give myself more room to work, so I'm not constantly in the post getting beat up. So
yeah, I mean, she made a little humor about it at the end, but I think that's interesting, right? We talk about players looking to expand their game, players looking to get better over the course of an offseason. If Anna Olsen can add a mid-range game to herself or to her portfolio, excellent news for her, excellent news for the Catamounts. UVM has a lot. We can talk tomorrow about the deficiencies and the loss of Catherine Gilwey and what it might mean for this team and kind of how they move forward. We asked Emma Utterback about how the point guard position will be. But this team still has a lot of weapons. Delaney Richardson is a good shooter from the wing, right? She's a bigger player in terms of height, but she's a perimeter-oriented player. She's good out there. Emma Utterback is an excellent slasher going to the basket. And Anna Olsen is phenomenal down low. If she can add kind of that mid-range game to her portfolio. It just gives this team more options, especially as Kat Gilby is out for the year. Wow. Had a lot of stuff today. Thanks to Buster Olney for joining us. Thanks to Danny for being on top of everything as well. I'm glad Danny and I got a chance to attend Virtual Media Day today. We picked up a lot. We will have more from the UVM women tomorrow. I think we got some other stuff from Aaron Deloney that we want to get to. Also, Phil Perry, our Pats insider at NBC Sports Boston, is going to be with us tomorrow. Yes, it is that time, a Football Talk Friday, where we get ready for a Patriots, hopefully not loss, but who knows at this point. We'll see what Phil says about the state of the Pats locker room and what they can do to try to avoid a 1-6 start. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Go download the podcast here on DEV.
The 18th annual Big Dog Daddy Hearing Clearance Sale is going strong at Lamoille Valley Chevy. Tell them, bro.
Folks, take it from me that you can tune out all the noises about strikes and supply shortages. Right now at Lamoille Valley Chevy, our lot is full as it has ever been over the last 4 years, with over 200 new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs available. And with the new models incoming, it is time for us to sell down our inventory now, and that means you can save money with deals like this. Right now, current Chevy owners can take up to $10,000 off MSRP on a new in-stock Silverado at Lamoille Valley Chevy. And you shoppers, listen to this. Not only will you find one of the largest selections of new Chevy car, truck, and SUVs at Lamoille Valley Chevrolet, but our lot is also packed with late model, low mileage, pre-owned vehicles, including many that are certified pre-owned and some with a better warranty than a brand new car. Folks, at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we have the inventory, and most of all, we have the desire to make deals and earn your business.
So come get an awesome deal at the Big Dog Daddy Year-End Clearance Sale happening now at Lamoille Valley Chevy, located just past Stowe and Morrisville in the beautiful town of Hyde Park, Vermont. And remember, at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we know price matters.
Vermont's most innovative companies will be at the Vermont Tech Jam, powered by 7 Days on Saturday, October 21st at Hula in Burlington. Looking for work? At the Tech Jam, you'll meet recruiters face-to-face. Beta Technologies will be there, and Marvell, Core Power, VIP, Data Innovations, and National Life, too. Put on some real pants, step away from your remote desk, and step onto Hula's Lakeside Tech campus. Want to be inspired? Learn about lab-grown meat. Hear from Dr. Rachel Floriani and Irfan Tahir, two University of Vermont researchers who explain how they help grow cell-cultured meat. Should Vermont embrace cellular agriculture? To register for the Vermont Tech Jam presented by Hula and Marvell on Saturday, October 21st, visit techjamvt.com. That's techjamvt.com.
Good signs catch your eye and promote your business. Hi, this is Tricia at Always On Time Signs. We design and produce custom signs for businesses big and small. Commercial signs, safety signs, banners, window, wall, and floor graphics, and much more. You'll be impressed by our customized designs and quick service. And you'll love our competitive prices. Come see how our experienced designers can create the sign you're looking for.